Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to talk about converting fractions and decimals. Let's start by talking about what does the word converting mean? Converting means to change into a different form. And when we're talking about converting fractions and decimals, we are actually changing these into equivalent forms of one another. And remember we talked about equivalent means equal. I like this cartoon because it says, did you know we were related? Because a half and 5/10 are equivalent forms of each other. And also because fractions and decimals both represent parts of a whole. We are going to start by looking at converting decimals to fractions. And place value is going to play an important role, so let's bring our place value chart back up from the previous videos. Just a real quick reminder, one place after the decimal is the tenths, 2 places is the hundredths, 3 places is the thousandths. So I'm going to keep this on the screen if we need to pull it up as needed to use to determine how to change a decimal into a fraction. Let's take a look at these 3 decimals. So if I'm looking at this first one, I can say this is 6/10, and because it's in the tenths place, I know that this is going to be 6/10 because the way we say fractions is similar to how we say a decimal's place value. And this could also be simplified, but we're not going to worry about simplifying for now. Looking at this next one, there it's in the tenths, hundredths. So the last place tells you what place value it's in. So this one is in the hundredths place. So its equivalent would be 33 hundredths. This one has a whole number in front. And then it has 56 and it's in that second place away from the decimal. So that'd be 2 and 56 hundredths. So remember, I'm just looking at the place values. So this last one, I have a whole number again, so a whole 1. This is the tenths, hundredths, so the last place is in the thousandths. So I have 807 thousandths. And that is changing decimals to fractions. Now pause the video and try these 3 on your own, and then unpause the video and see if you got your answers correct. Welcome back from pausing the video. This first one, you should think that the 7 is in the tenths place, so it would be 7/10. This next one, you should think 8 is in the tenths, so 5 is in the hundredths, so I have 85 hundredths. And then this next one, you have a whole amount of 2, and then this is in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place, so I have 623 thousandths. I hope you got them all right. Now let's take a look at converting fractions to decimal. In the back of your mind, you need to keep thinking about when I was changing decimals to fractions, the denominators were always over 10, 100, 1,000. And that's our goal, is to make fractions that represent this. So there's 2 different ways to convert fractions. We can divide or we can write equivalent fractions. So these we're going to look at writing equivalent fractions. So if I'm looking at 25, I have to think, can I change it to a tenth, a hundredth, or a thousandth? Well, we know we could change it to a hundredths. So if I do this, I would multiply this by 4, and I would have to do the same thing to the number on top, which would give me 48 hundredths. And if we think about what that means I have 48 hundredths, because in the hundredths place. Sometimes we need to simplify down to one of our tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. So if I'm looking at 300, I know I can simplify it down to the hundredths. So I'm going to rewrite this as an equivalent fraction out of 100. So I divided this by 3, so I can divide this by 3. So if I'm going to come over here and work this out, 3 goes into 24 8 times, which leaves me with 24. Bring my 3 down. 3 goes into 3, so it goes in there 81. So I can say that's 81 hundredths. So once again, you have 81. Let's actually change this one to a mixed number. So we have 4 and 3/5. So I'm having to look at, well, how can I change 3/5 into being out of 10 or 100 or even 1,000? Well, I know 5 can easily go to 10, so I'm going to change this into a tenths this time. So this would be 5 times 2, so I would need to do the same thing to the numerator, 3 times 2, which gives me 6. So this is 6 tenths. But remember, I added this whole number. So you're going to have to bring the whole number, and remember it is 4, so it just goes in the ones place, and then I have 6 tenths, so the tenths place would need a 6. Okay, that is the basics of changing fractions to decimals using equivalent fractions. Sometimes converting fractions to equivalent fractions to decimals doesn't always work as well as just simply dividing, which is what we're going to do next. So remember, every fraction is just a division problem. So you have your numerator divided by your denominator. So when you set these up, your numerator should be on the inside when the denominator should be on the outside. So that little white lie your elementary teachers told you that the bigger number goes inside is not always true. So on this one, your 7, your numerator would go inside, and your denominator 8 would be on the outside. 8 can't go into 7, so I need to add a decimal, bring your decimal up, and add a 0. 8 will go into 70 8 times, which will give me 64. 70 minus 64 is 6. Add another 0. You keep going until it either repeats or terminates. 8 will go into 60 7 times, which will give me 56. Bring my 4 down. Add a 0. Bring it down. 8 will go into 40 5 times exactly. So the decimal form of 7/8 is 875 thousandths. Now let's take a look at 122 150ths. This one would also be one where you are going to have to divide. So remember, your numerator goes inside the box and your denominator goes on the outside. And we add a decimal and add a 0. So thinking about 150, if you have to write this out, so 150 and 150 makes 300. So that's 2 of those. So another 150 and 150 would make 600. 150 and 150, that would make 900. 150 and 150, that would make my 1200. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. So I have 8s. Don't forget to bring your decimal place up. So that makes 1200. So I subtract, I get 20. Add another 0, bring it down. You must keep going. 150 goes into 200, we know 1 time. So that would leave me with 50 left. Add a 0, bring it down. Okay, 500. So if you go back, you have 150, 300, then you have 450. So it'll go in there 3 times. That'll give me 450. And then if you notice, you're getting 50 again. And if you add a 0, you're going to keep writing 3 over and over and over again. So that means it's repeating. So the answer to this one would be 813 with the 3 repeating. And remember, we talked about why is the repeating a line? Is because a line never ends. And that's why they use it as a repeating. So this 3 continues to go. And I could keep dividing over here to the side and subtract 450, and I will get 50 again and continue this on. That's why we put the repeating sign. Well, that's the end of the video. Remember, don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. And also, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. I know some things are hard, but we have to keep practicing and we will get there. You will get there. Don't give up. If you need help, come see me in tutorials.